Cortomuso! Hopefully, a nice thumbnail. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're here for the instant reaction. Milan 1, Roma 0. Fantastic. A huge amount to talk about this match. Those of you who joined me for the watch long, thank you. For those of you who didn't, join for the next one. Steph and I will be there. But fantastic game. A real privilege to cover this one, actually, and to be online for a massive W. Huge amount to talk about, of course. A game of two halves, the most cliche thing ever. But honestly, if you watch the match, you would exactly agree with that statement. We were a completely different team at the moment we scored the goal. Let's start, actually, before we kind of ramble around. Let's do this a bit structured. Let's start with the first minute, obviously, of the game. Where were we? We were all over the place. Milan started incredibly poorly. A lot of the malaise that crept in the last couple of games, starting with the Pisa match and obviously going into the Atalanta game, where we were just lethargic, almost like the Milan of old, the Conceição Milan, the Fonseca Milan, the latter stages of Pioli Milan. It wasn't great. Roma were all over us, and honestly, as I'll talk to at the end of the reaction, we're lucky we didn't concede. They had about 3 or 4 really good chances, and Ndika had a Dybala shot. Those are 2 that come to mind. But I mean, we're talking like the first 10-15 minutes, they were all over us, absolutely all over us. They absolutely should have scored a goal, and they didn't. It was bad luck in a way from them. Good luck for us. But we take it. Absolutely brilliant. Then, sort of 30th minute, the first half hour, things started to change a little bit. And then on the stroke of, minute, what was it? 40 or 39, in fact. Leao, actually, Bartazaghi, who had an incredibly poor first half, which is very common theme with a lot of our players. It's a game of two halves. Gets it into Ricci sends it, and Leao just basically drives from the halfway line. This is all Rafa, guys. Absolutely all Rafa. Shrugs people off and finds an absolutely perfect peach with Pavlovic. And we know he does it. Like, Pavlovic, as a centre-back, has an unbelievable ability to drive forward. It's incredible. Just to say, actually, I know I said I wasn't going to jump too much, but Pavlovic, fuck me, man. Die, Pavlo, die. What a brilliant player he's becoming for us. Real grinta. Like, he wants to win the game. Brilliant. Anyway, he ran. Nkunku was actually to his right, but Leao drives the ball forward, and Pavlovic has a striker's finish very deftly through the legs of, I think, Hermoso and into the back of the net, into an open goal, basically. And it's 1-0. And the moment we scored, we were all over them. From minute 40 to I would argue almost minute 90, we were in the game. And the reason why I say that is so important, because the first 39 minutes up until that goal, we were lucky to not be behind. I really cannot stress, if you haven't watched the game, up until the goal, it would all be Roma. We're the home side. They had all the possession, they had all the chances, and we were lucky to not concede. We really, really were. And it wasn't for the fact of Magic making great saves. He didn't. Roma just couldn't finish and were unlucky. So, yeah, game of two halves. Before we go into the second half, where obviously can wax lyrical about a lot of the players, let's have a look at some of the stats. 16 shots apiece, 7 on target for Milan, 6 for Roma. So very equal in terms of chances created. Possession, it's all Roma, 61-39. Cortomuso, as I started with, this is a pure Allegri Cortomuso performance. Absolutely fantastic. Passes, 362 for Roma to only 270 for Milan. Cortomuso, common theme here, guys. Pass accuracy, a little bit lacking from us today. Fofana in particular, who I will touch on, was absolutely pathetic in possession, and so was Bartazaghi for the first half in particular. 10 fouls for Milan, 13 for Roma. Very classic. Roma are a very foul-heavy team. Yellow cards, only 1, 5 for Roma. They were lucky not to have a player sent off, I would argue, with the accumulation of yellows. Offsides 1 to 2, corners 7 to 8. So in terms of creation of chances, I would say the teams were very equal. Gasperini is a more possession-heavy team inside the football than Allegri, but still, it shows that we did more with less. Cortomuso. Okay. Now, moving on to the second half before I actually get into individual player performances. Brilliant. We were creating chances. We were fluid. The goal clearly gave the team a huge amount of confidence. It was fantastic to actually see that for a change. Again, a lot like how we started the season. The first four matches, I would say in particular, even the Cremonese defeat, you could say that we started games really, really fast and lightning, and it was good to see that again. Just shame it was only the second half, but the goal basically lit a fuse in us, and it was fantastic for me. The player that has the star of the match. I mean, there's a couple. The three biggest performers are obviously Magic Mike with the penalty save on Dybala, which we'll talk about in a second. Pavlovic for his goal and just general play. He was fantastic. And Leao, I think for me, man of the match, because no matter what way you twist it, without Leao, we were not scoring tonight. It's as simple as that. And he scored the goal. Well, sorry, he created the goal, which was all him. Pavlovic nearly had to just do the right thing as a professional footballer and put it in the back of the net, which he did. And as a centre-back, it was a fantastic finish. But do not get it twisted. That goal was all Rafael Leao. Rafaino Leao, fantastic goal. So let's talk about a few of the moments and also some of the poor performances. So the penalty, the ref, I'm not quite sure what the ref was doing today. It wasn't until about the 65th minute that he started booking the Roma players. They were classic Roma, trying to be bullish. Mancini, who is a fantastic centre-back, being a massive dick like he always is. You've got Hermoso was getting stuck in too much. I'm surprised he only got a yellow like late on in the match. You had Al Nui, I can't remember if that's pronounced right, but one of their fullbacks, also a bit of an annoying guy. Look, Roma were annoying, and I think the referee, he tried to obviously let it go to start off with to kind of condition the match in a certain way, but I think they should have been a few more of their players booked in the first half. And to be honest, accumulation of yellow cards, I could have seen a Hermoso, for example, being sent off quite easily. I don't know why or how that didn't quite happen, to be perfectly frank. Celik, Mancini, Hermoso, Al Nui, and Francia all got yellow cards. Al Nui and Hermoso for me were the worst offenders, with Mancini just lipping all match. Now let's touch on some of the negatives, because I think it's important that we touch on. Obviously, there's a few things that we've learned from this match, and the biggest one is depth, the lack of we have at Milan. I think it was quite evident that we weren't able to bring on players that we wanted to bring on. The first half screamed out for Rabiot. The sooner Rabiot comes back, the better. I cannot wait for Rabiot to come back. We are a much better team with him in. But the biggest player that I need to highlight is Fofana. Yusuf Fofana was terrible tonight. Allegri clearly loves Fofana a bit like Pioli loved Krunic, and I get it. It's to protect Modric. He's got legs. There are aspects of his game that are good. He's physical. He cannot pass the ball and he cannot shoot the ball. And he's a professional footballer. Cannot pass the ball and cannot shoot the ball. Just think about that for a second. And he should have scored a goal to make it 2-0. He had another chance near on that also should have made it 2-0 at the time. And Kunku also, not sure I'm seeing a lot from him at the moment. He wasn't awful, but he wasn't great either. Maybe that was tactical in terms of him kind of distracting from Leao, potentially. Salamakers, again, absolutely fantastic game. He was brilliant. Ricci, solid as usual. I'm glad he got a start over Loftus-Cheek, although I would like to have seen Loftus-Cheek come on a bit earlier. He didn't come on until the 79th minute, I believe. Let me just check that. I've got the I don't know why. He didn't come on until quite late on, which I was a little bit annoyed about. Yeah, he came on the 84th minute, Loftus-Cheek. I would like to have seen him on a lot sooner than that, to be perfectly honest. I wasn't happy with Allegri's subs. The penalty that Fofana conceded by putting his hand up in the wall when we conceded a free kick. I mean, what the fuck are you doing, Fofana? He jumps up and does that. I mean, he was poor. For me, he should have been taken off much sooner. 60th minute. But I understand a kind of why maybe Jashari's not ready. Jashari should hopefully be ready for the Parma game because Fofana wasn't it tonight. Bartazaghi also had an awful first half, but redeemed himself massively in the second half. How nice was it to see Mike save a penalty? Huge moment in the game when Fofana concedes that penalty stupidly. Dybala didn't look particularly confident, but it was a well-taken penalty and an even better save. So kudos to Magic Mike. I hope we renew him. I understand if we don't. I feel like that's a club issue rather than a Mike issue. But fantastic from Mike. Fantastic to see him saving a penalty again and having that mentality. The winter was solid. Gabia solid. Pavlovic fantastic. Salamakers fantastic. Modric awful. I'm sorry. Fofana awful. Modric fantastic. Ricci pretty good. Bartasaghi okay on balance. And Kunku not great, I would say, and Leao fantastic. So look, did we deserve to win the game? I would say yes, because again, cortomuso. This was a complete cortomuso performance by Allegri. It was fantastic to see. I think he out conditioned and out tacticked Gasperini, especially once we got that goal. Were we lucky to get the goal and not concede? 100%. Do you need luck in a season? 100%. So I think on balance, we should come away with this and thinking, yes, that's 3 points well deserved, especially when you factor in the penalty save. Some, again, individual brilliance here. But I do think the compactness and the way that we defended, especially under pressure, when Roma were pushing in the last sort of 20 minutes, was fantastic. So I think we should look at the table, which we'll do in a second. And we'll have a look. We're on 21 points. We're tied with Roma. We're ahead of them because you've got the head-to-head. But you've got Napoli on 22, Inter on 21, Milan on 21, and Roma on 21. It's incredibly tight. It's going to be a tight season. I will say, and I'll leave you with this thought, ladies and gentlemen. Isn't it nice that we're hard to beat? Now, whether you say it's luck or not, and yes, there was a bit of luck in this game. A lot, maybe you could say. But isn't it nice to know that we're actually a hard to beat side? We haven't lost since Cremonese. Yes, we needed to turn a few of those draws into wins, but we haven't lost since Cremonese. Incredible. It's night and day to how we were last season, and it's fantastic. Look, it wasn't a vintage Milan performance. It was cortomuso. It was Allegri at its finest in terms of compactness. When you factor in the lack of depth and the injuries that we have, winning this game, huge. Did we have luck? Yes. Do you need that? Yes. Do I care? Not really. Absolutely fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate if you join me for the watch along. We'd love to know your thoughts. It's so nice that we're at the top of the table. We're chasing the Scudetto. Whether we win it or not, it doesn't matter. We're in the mix and we are playing some pretty good football, or at the very least, we're hard to beat. And I tell you what, it's classic Allegri, but he's doing it again. And I'm loving it. I'm loving it. It's not vintage Milan, but it doesn't matter. We're hard to beat. On to Parma next, where logic would state we'll draw this match, but obviously we need to go on and win it because the league's won winning games like that. But obviously, winning this match psychologically is massive. We had two piss-poor performances, Pisa and Atalanta, to win this at home against Roma, who were chasing us as a six-pointer. We often do well against Roma, who kept a clean sheet. It's fantastic. Nothing but positives. Ultimately, the performance was not amazing, but it doesn't matter. We put this game behind us. We look to Parma and we move on. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining. Please let us know in the comments what you thought of the match, and we look to Parma. Ragazzi, Forza Milan sempre. Ciao, ciao.